We live in a world that's constantly selling us this one simple promise. The easier your life is, the better it's going to be. But what if that promise is actually a trap? Today, we're going to dive into that tension, that conflict between our natural desire for an easy life and the disciplined pursuit of a truly meaningful one.
So let's just ask it straight up. Is the easiest life really the best life? Our entire culture seems to be screaming yes at the top of its lungs. But is a life with the most convenience and the least amount of effort, is that really the path to flourishing? Let's dig in.
All right, so where does this constant pull towards an easy life even come from? Well, it starts with the world we've built, a world that's pretty much designed to steer us down the path of least resistance, making comfort and pleasure the ultimate prize.
Just think about it for a second. Your phone offers this infinite scroll of distraction. You can get a hot meal delivered to your door in minutes without even getting off the couch. Almost anything you could possibly want is just one single click away. This culture of ease is so everywhere, all the time, that we barely even notice how much it's shaping us. And what's really fascinating here is that this isn't some timeless human problem. It's a distinctly modern one. For most of human history, just surviving was the main challenge. Now, for so many of us, the real challenge is figuring out how to navigate a world that makes everything too easy. And that ease? It comes with some serious hidden costs that we're only just starting to figure out.
So this modern mindset, it's kind of built on these three really powerful and, I'd argue, pretty dangerous beliefs. First, we tell ourselves that overindulging is no big deal, it's just harmless fun. Second, we start to confuse real freedom with just having no limits at all. And finally, we start to believe that the absolute peak of a good life is just kicking back in a state of pure leisure and convenience.
And this right here, this is the central paradox. The promise sounds amazing, doesn't it? I get to do whatever I want. But what's the reality? Well, when we chase every single impulse without any discipline, we don't end up free. No way. We end up becoming slaves to those very impulses. Our pleasures and our desires start to rule us instead of the other way around.
Okay, so if this modern path of easy is really a trap, what's the alternative? Well, thankfully, we are not the first people to ask this question. Philosophers have been wrestling with this for centuries, and they've offered a much more robust, a much more fulfilling path forward.
Let's actually jump back more than 2,000 years to Aristotle. He came up with this really powerful idea he called the golden mean. He argued that true excellence, the best life, isn't found at the extremes, not in wild, over-the-top excess, but also not in total self-denial. It's about finding that skillful, balanced path right in the middle. It's about using our reason to find the right way.
And this ancient idea from Aristotle? It translates into a really practical virtue for us today, moderation. It's the simple practice of enjoying life's pleasures. Good food, entertainment, relaxation, but without ever letting them take the driver's seat. It's all about you becoming the master of your own desires.
So how do we actually build this more meaningful life? Well, it really comes down to three core pillars. We've just talked about the first one, practicing moderation. The other two are exercising responsible freedom and, maybe the toughest one, learning to embrace resilience and effort. Let's break down what those really mean.
Now this is a total rethink of what freedom even is. It moves us away from that kind of childish idea of I can do whatever I want and toward a much more mature understanding, which is I have the power to choose what is right. Responsible freedom isn't just about what we want for ourselves, it means we actually have to think about our impact on the people and the world around us. And that brings us to the final and maybe the most counterintuitive piece of the puzzle. We have to completely flip the script on difficulty. While the modern world is telling us to avoid effort at all costs, this virtuous path teaches the absolute opposite. It helps us understand that a challenge isn't an obstacle to a good life, it is a necessary ingredient for a good life. Real growth, real satisfaction, that only comes through discipline and perseverance.
Okay, so let's pull all these threads together. When you start to combine moderation with responsible freedom and a real willingness to embrace effort, you don't get a life that's restrictive and boring. What you get is a life of genuine strength, of real purpose and deep meaning.
You can really see the choice laid out here, can't you, where modern life tempts us with overindulgence. The alternative is moderation. Instead of just chasing every unchecked desire, we can practice responsible freedom. And when the world is constantly pushing us to seek ease, we can choose to embrace effort as the real path to growth. It's a complete counter-proposal to the default way of living.
Look, if you take just one thing away today, please let it be this. This whole idea, this virtuous path, it is not about punishing yourself or living some boring, bland life. Not at all. It's about taking back control from your impulses and from a culture that just wants everything to be easy. It's the very definition of designing a life on your own terms, a life of true, genuine freedom and deep fulfillment.
So, I'll leave you with this question. If real growth comes from challenge, not from ease, what's one area in your life where you can intentionally choose effort over convenience? What challenge will you decide to embrace, not because it's easy, but because you know it will help you flourish?